Today's question is implement strstr. Your task is to implement the function strstr. So we are going to design a function called strstr, and this function will have two arguments, s and x. We can see string s and string s, and the idea is to locate the occurrence of the string x in the string s. Now the function is returning the integer value denoting the first occurrence of the string x in s. You're not allowed to use inbuilt function, of course. So now we can see example number 1 and 2 to have a better insight of this problem statement. So example number 1 has s as gigs for gigs and x as fr. We are searching fr in gigs for gigs. We're not able to find it, and that is why we're returning -1. In example number 2, we are able to find for at starting from the fifth location, and that is why we are returning 5. So these are the takeaways or the important points to be understood from the question. Let's take one more example and see how to solve this problem. So I've taken an example where s is BABCB and x is BC. Now what we're going to do is, let's say that it has length of n, and right now the size of n is 5, and it has the length of m, and just to make it generalized, it has the length of size 2. Now what we're going to do is we have to go character by character, compare character by character, and then come up with the statement that did we find the substring or we did not find the substring. So if we found, then we are going to return the index. If we did not find the string substring, then we are going to return this, we are going to return -1. All right, so when it comes comparison, and that too also index by index, we are going to create a for loop. So the for loop is going to go from I 0 to n, and the another for loop is going for j equals to 0 to m. Now this I is going 0 to n is basically iterating the string s, and j iterator is iterating string x. All right, now what we are going to do, we are going to compare character by character. So x of j is going to compare with s of I. Now x of j, when it gets compared with x of s of I, then what we can say is that there is no point in iterating x if the first character or in between any character is not matching, right? So if at any point of time, if the characters are not matching of x and s while iterating, then there is no point in further iteration of the substring. We can sorry, we can simply return from here. So we can say break. So this break will help us to come out from this for loop, and I will keep on incrementing till n. So having said that, we can now understand with the individual value of I and j, and we can see that do we have to do any enhancement in the code which we have written. So I is equals to 0 and j is equals to 0. Now when I is 0 and j is 0, we have s as 0, and s of 0 is b, and x of 0 is also b. So we found our first match. Great. So when the match is there, then we are not breaking from here. We are incrementing the j. So j is incremented. Now in second iteration, I is still 0. All right. And j incremented to 1. Now what we have, s is still at 0th location. All right. And we are matching x of 0, right? And now j is 1, so it will be 1, and this is going to be what? This is going to be c. Now do you see there is a problem with this particular iteration? I is at, okay, let me just write it more clearly here, that we have 0, we have 1, we have 2, 3, 4. So it has b, then we have a, then we have b, then we have c, and finally we have b. What we are doing is we okay, since I have written for s, let's write for x as well. So we have 0, we have 1, and similarly we have b and c. B and C. So this is representing my S string, and this is representing my X string. Okay, so for in the first iteration, J was here and I was here. Okay, so I was here. Now, when I was here and J was here, it did make sense that we are comparing. Now, when I is still here and J moved from 0 to 1, we are again comparing 0th position character with the second position character, which is ideally wrong. We can't compare the same character to two different positions. We were supposed to compare two characters from the bigger string and the two characters from the smaller string. That is what the idea was, to compare. It was not like take B and compare all the value of X, take A and compare all the value of X. That is why this particular comparison is incomplete. We have to write here I plus J. Why I plus J? We can clearly see, and by doing this we are not skipping any value. We are intact with the iteration. We will iterate 0 and we will iterate 1, 2, 3 and 4. So let's see what exactly will happen if I write I plus J. So first of all, in the first go itself, when I was 0 and J was 0, when I and J both are 0, then what we're going to do is, so S is going to be I plus J, which means 0 plus 0, which is same 0. So there is no change in the S position. So we are taking B position. By doing this, we are not skipping it, and that you will understand if you actually go one by one with I and J different values throughout the loop, which I'm going to do with for you, and then you will understand this I plus J is not missing any value, or it is not surpassing any value. We are smartly picking the value which we want to pick for the comparison. So when both of them are 0, S is still at 0 and we got the match, we're incrementing it. Now the magic happens here. When I is 0 and J is 1, because J incremented, then S is no more just 0, but S is now 0 plus 1, which is what? 0 plus 1, which means I is at this place, J is at this place, but we are able to access one step further location. And that is what we were looking for, because the size of the substring is 2. We want to take the chunk of 2 letters in one go. When I is 0, then it can access 0th location value of S as well as 1 location value of S, the first location value. So the first location value is A, and we're not matching. Since we're not matching, we're gonna break. That does make sense. So we have covered two different iterations, and we can see that when I is at 0, this is important point, and with this there is one more update which we're gonna do in our code, and we can this particular point will help us to solve that problem. There is one more update which has to happen in this piece of code. So we have to understand this, that when I is at 0, then it is able to access location S0 and location S1 if the match happens. If similarly, if I is at 1, and then we will go for S of 0, and if that match is also occurring, then we can go for, sorry, not S of 1 and S of 2. Why I have to point this out is because when I becomes 1 now and J is equals to 0, then what are we comparing it with? 1 plus 0. That is going to give us the value. Let me give this inside this. Okay. And this is going to give us the value of S at 1. S at 1 is A. All right. And X is going to get the value of J, which is 0, and that is B. It didn't match, and we are going to break. Fine. So this particular thing did not happen, since we are not able to move forward if from at S1 itself, then S2 never came into picture because we break from here. So this did not happen. All right. Now moving forward, I incremented because J stopped. Now I incremented to 2. J became again 1, And now again the same comparison. S of what is I is 2. What is J is 0. That gives us 2. Now S of 2 is what? S of 2 is B. And X of J, which means 0, is what? B. We found the match. Now we found the match, so we are incrementing J. So we found the match, and we found the match here. Now when we found the match here, what we're going to do is I will be still at 2, but J is going to be at 1. So I came here, all right, and J came here. So that ends up in the situation when S is 2 plus 1, right? So 2 plus 1, that equals to 3. And S of 3 is what? C. And interestingly, X of 1 is also C. And we are going to do J++ in this situation as well. And we'll also say that we found the entire match, what we were looking for, right? So the another situation which we can see is when I is 2, then we were able to check for S of 2 and S of 3, right? Okay, now moving forward. If I is equals to 3 and J is equals to 0, what we can do? Okay, let me just come back to this particular statement. When this particular when this statement got completed, the value of J from 0, it incremented to 1, and now from 1 it will increment to 2. But since the capacity of this particular X is still 2, it will know, it does not have any further, the terminating condition hits for the J loop, and it will terminate, sorry. So now J will terminate its loop, and I is going to again start from 3. Now at this point, S will be 3 plus 0, which is 0. Sorry, which is 3, I'm sorry. And this is going to be S of 3, which is C. And X of 0 is going to be B. Didn't match, so we are going to break. Lastly, I of 4. That's the last possible place where till which I can go, because I5 does not belong to S. It just goes to 0 to n minus 1. So J is going to be 0. S of 4 plus 0 is going to be 4. That's fine. And we got B, interestingly, and X of 0 is also B. We found the match. So we have J++. That's fine. If we found the match here, we got this match here. Now let's just see. I will remain at 4, but the I plus J line is going to help us to move forward, and that is when we got this 4 plus 0, which means now 4 plus 1. That is going to be 5. And this is going to be what? Do we have fifth location? No, we don't have any fifth location. This is the problem which I was trying to point it out. So when I was 4, J was 0, we were able to find the match, and J got incremented. So with this fashion, when I became, for this example particularly, when I became 4, okay, then it was able to go till S4, and it was also trying to access S5. Now S5 is something which we do not have. S has 0 location, 1 location, 2 location, 3 location, and 4 location. It does not, fifth location does not belong to S. Now here there comes an error that you are trying to access a position which does not belong to you. So to avoid the situation, what we have to do is we have to always iterate from n till m, n minus m position. Why do we have to iterate till n minus m, and that this is not 2, it is like equals to. So if I have to write it in the not in the pseudocode, then it will be for I equals to 0, I is less than and equals to n minus m and I plus plus. Why? Because here you see when we were at location third, when we were at location third, and for an instance, if we imagine that this match happened here, just imagine that this match like if the C and this B, if we had C and C at at these places, at this position, then we would have incremented J. And what is our idea? That when you are at location I is at location N or maybe Q, then S can go till Q and Q plus 1, right? Which basically tells us that if I is at 3, at max if it was at 3, then it could have gone to S of 3 and S of 4, which is the last position to go, right? So we can see that right now the size of n is 5 and m is 2. So n minus m gives us 3. So 3 is that position from which we can go till the last valid position of s, and that is why we have to go till n minus m, that too also less than equals to n minus m. So these were the two corrections which it was required before moving forward in actual coding, that the iterator I will not go from 0 to n but goes from 0 to n minus m, and j will go from 0 to m. Whereas we and the another correction which we have done is we are going to compare the element character by character x of j, not with s of I but s of I plus j. So after these two corrections we are ready to code. And another thing which also I have to tell here is once we found the match, once we found the entire match, BC got matched already, there is no requirement to do further comparison. I have just done it in order to come up with this particular error so that we can correct this particular code. All right. Having said that, let's dive into the code and see what all we have discussed and how to code it. So you have continuously we are continuously discussing about the size going till n, going till m. So let's just define n and m. So n is going to represent the size of s, and m is going to represent the size of x. All right. Now, as discussed, we are going to write the code of for loop, which is going to go for from n minus m, and it has to be equals to. So I have to iterate using I, and I is the return type. I mean, like we are going to return I as well. So I have to define here, declare here, and then we are going to use this here. And there you go, I plus plus. Then another for loop which has j, and j is going to start from 0, j is less than m, j plus plus. After this, what we're going to do is we will be comparing x of j with s of I plus j. We saw what is the problem just with I, and then we can say that if it is not equals to, if at any point of time we are not able to find the match, then we're gonna break, right? So there is a catch. Whenever we start comparing, we'll just create is like we can just create a flag which will tell us that there is a possibility that we just assume that we will find the substring in our given string, and that is what the usage of this particular flag is. That this flag is basically telling us that you will find x in s. But if you're not able to find it, then we're gonna say that the flag is zero, I mean false. So this flag is telling us that were you able to successfully find this substring? If yes, then it's true. If no, then it's false. So whenever the mismatch occurs, it basically says that I'm not able to find it. And there is a typo I can see here. So it's flag. All right. Now, with the completion of this for loop, either we were able to find the string, or if we were not able to find the string. Those only two possibilities we have. So before starting for the next I position value, we'll always check that this flag is true or false. If it is true, then we were able to find it, and that is when we're going to return I. But if this particular flag was false, which means that there was this mismatch condition, so we're gonna look for another I value, and we'll keep on doing it until the condition n minus 1. And even after that, by any chance, if we have not come in the situation where the flag is true, which means that we have not returned from here, then we're going to return minus 1, as the problem statement suggests, that if the string is, we are not able to find the string, then we're going to return minus 1. So let's see what we have done so far. So we have calculated the size, we are running the for loop, and we are running the another for loop, one for s and one for x. We are comparing character by character, and whenever the character is uh, not matching, then we are setting the flag as false, saying that we have not we are still in the process of finding the substring, and so far we have not found any substring, and we are going to break from here, because there is no point in iterating the substring at this position of at this point of time. So let's try to compile, and it's giving us the correct answer, so let's try to submit. And yes, it got submitted. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and this was all about the implement strstr. Thank you very much.